Yo, what's good, everybody? Brody here with another breakdown video today. I'm going to do a little bit different of a format today. I'm going to go into story time because I think that the way that this beat was made was really fun and worth talking about, like the process. So, this beat doesn't have a song made to it yet. It was just made this weekend. So, very early stages, but so the story time of it was I was in Toronto over the weekend playing some shows. I DJ'd for Wicca Phase Springs Eternal on Friday, and then on Saturday played an acoustic set with him. It was cool. It was my first time ever doing an acoustic set of my own music. I'm used to doing like full production kind of thing, so breaking it down and having like a small intimate show was sick. But so day of the day of the regular show, we were hanging out with Black Winter Wells and 8485. Both of them have songs with Wicca and they performed them at the show. And from us all hanging out, that led to the next day before the acoustic set doing a studio session together with it was all of us with Matt Tomasi at his studio. Very very sick spot. We wound up just like jamming a bunch of ideas, talking music. It was more of a hang, but we came up with some really cool ideas. And this one in the studio didn't leave like loop idea form, so we took it home and I wound up turning it into like a full instrumental, and I really love how it turned out here. So I'm gonna kind of walk through like how it came to be and what I wound up doing to it. Um, this one's kind of intensive processing wise, so if I start to get a little glitchy and like laggy, I'm just gonna go with it because it is what it is. You'll still hear the music fine, but I might look a little funny. Just a fair warning. But so the idea started with well, so okay, so we had kind of like two ideas with it. We all were like playing different instruments, recorded stems of it, and thought we could make that into a song. But then we also had the idea of like making it like a sample and then flipping that for a beat. So we had the stems, and then we also had a version that was the whole thing stretched and like reverbed out to make like a big pad kind of ambience thing that you could build around. I'm gonna hop into DAW World here. Cool. And I'll show you the what like the pad that kind of started this. So the idea started with Wicca playing piano chord progression, and Wells was doing vocals. They had like a SM58 with a bunch of auto tune and reverb, and we're kind of like humming notes like choir esque over it, and it made this really cool sound. And then, especially when stretched out, it made this like big, long, beautiful pad sound. I'm gonna play here. And I thought that was just like such a nice ambience that I let it go the whole track and let that be like the world the song lived in. So to paint the picture of the studio, it was Wicca playing the chords, Wells doing this vocal thing. I was following the piano chords on an acoustic guitar. 80 was playing some like lead synth stuff, and Matt was doing like EBO texture ambiance throughout it all. So like super freeform, super ambient, super cool vibe to it all. I feel like normally when I approach loops, it's a lot more like to the grid, quantized, organized, easy to place into something. And I really enjoyed this being a lot more like freeform jam sessiony. Like felt more like being in a band than like being a like producer beat making or whatever. It was cool, and I wanted to keep that alive with the way this arrangement turned out. So I let a lot of things just kind of like progress randomly and had just like a few core elements that glued it together. So main elements that I chose to like tie it together were the percussion and the guitar. So we have the choir piano pad thing I just showed you. The piano chord progression was we weren't playing to a click really, so that was kind of going around, and it was harder for me to align it up on the grid. So I took like the tonality of the piano and the pads and things throughout the beat. But I, as the main anchor, I retract that all with my acoustic here in the studio, and that became like the anchor point for this all. And by itself, it sounds like this. So it loops that chord progression around for a bit, and then at like big dramatic sections, it brings out here. I love that sound. I wound up, instead of double tracking it, I single tracked it, and then I used the UAD Brigade chorus as like a doubler and chorus vibrato thing. So by itself, it's just this. That really brings it to life, makes it super haunting. I don't know, I love the sound of that. And I actually wound up doing the entirety of the track in one take with the acoustic guitar. I wanted it to feel pretty alive and not like looped repeated parts. So we have that. I tracked another layer of acoustic guitar. I wound up doing, so I had it in this open tuning, and I was just kind of strumming like the droning open notes and the key. And then I took that layer, I reversed it, I stretched it out, and I pitched it up with Little Altar Boy an octave and like blended it. And then I also added another chorus, just a different chorus to give it a different flavor. I wanted this to be like another pad, but a very like natural sounding pad. I feel like that's like the theme of this is ambience, but natural ambience, but slight like uncanny to it. So this is another sound that's going throughout the whole thing. So that's panned left, and then panned right is the vocal layer I was talking about with the 58 with a bunch of reverb. I sampled it for the pad in the background, but then I let the regular part of it just kind of go off in the right here the whole time. It almost sounds like horns at parts. It sounds like strings, choir, very cinematic. And then, so we have the main vox to the right. To the left, I took that same vocal, the whole vocal file, I really squished it, made it faster, reversed it, and octaved it up. And then we have, oh, we're losing it, but I'll show you it solo. We have this off to the left, creating some really interesting textures. I love how that sounds. And that's not any specific rhythm, any specific grid. It's just kind of like notes in the key of the song just kind of floating around. And all the textures together I think are so cool. I'm gonna turn off the mastering chain here. So I'm running, it's pretty CPU heavy and making me be laggy because I'm running this all through Varispeed in Logic. So this originally was recorded at 160 BPM and 2 semitones higher, and I felt like the whole thing needed to slow down and be pitched down, just be darker in general. So I really like the algorithm that Logic has with Varispeed and how that sounds. I felt like it really retained the energy of it more than if I just like turned Flex Audio on every track, slowed the tempo, and then pitched it all down. I felt like there'd be too much artifacts. It would be too weird sounding. So I just pitched it down 2 semitones in Varispeed, and then the tempo that it made it was this ridiculous 142.544. I would never write in that tempo if it wasn't for Varispeed, but Because of that, it's taking a little bit of extra processing on my computer. But okay, mastering chain is off though, so that'll help. So here's more of the ambiance. Next thing I did was, okay, so we play on that chord progression, but then we go up to the G, which is transposed with the varispeed, but the section where it keeps the chord out here, that chord change is supposed to be super dramatic and emotional. So I recorded a bass layer just there. It's a synth bass. It's from my Korg Triton on my desk here, and I'm just hitting that chord. I'm boosting the bass. I'm widening just a hair and just above 70, so the core sub is like still mono. Compressing our bass, a little bit of reverb to blur it a bit. Then with a Triton, I took like a fake string patch. Just made like a very cinematic high violin thing going on the whole time. Really tugging at the heartstrings with this part. Then we have, let's see what else is going on. I'm gonna kind of move vertically so I don't miss anything. Another pad that comes throughout, and it's pretty quiet here but gets louder later on, is we had a Korg M1 playing some pads as well. Very spacey. All I wound up doing was I threw on a little altar boy. You can see on the top left here. Little altar boy, some chorus, a little bit of reverb. And just another cool, like, cheesy string sound, nice dynamic thing. Another thing that's like, nothing is repeated. It's all just kind of free form going throughout everything. Then we have this synth here. 80 was playing on keyboards. I think it was a Moog synth that they were messing with, and I wound up taking, it was a bass sound they were using, so it was kind of hard to work with that because we already had a chord progression established here, and it was similar to the piano, not totally tempo synced. So what I did, because I liked the tonality of it, was I took it, I pitched it up, reversed it, sped it up, and then it became this fluttering thing. Sounds funny by itself, but in context, a lot of cool motion. It's really nice part. That little rise, it sounds like a string rise, but it's just the vocals. Crazy. We have, what else do we have going on? I don't want to spoil the ending part. I'll get to that towards there. We have, okay, on the first like held out dramatic part, I added a white noise drop for my sample pack, added a small clap that I added some echo boy on, both a very short echo time, almost more of a reverb. I also have a snare layer that's tucked in that I put a different echo boy, like reverby delay thing on, and then distorted it, and it sounds like this. Kind of spring, kind of metallic. Super wide, and it blends with the organic snare drum really well. I'm about to show you, and just creates a cool layer. I used, so track is very ambient, no percussion aside from those little snare hits until the second verse where full drum kit comes in, kind of like, again, with the guitar cementing like the rhythm, the anchor point of the track. I love this drum tone. Very chill, very soft. On the drum bus of the drum kit and all of the electronic drums, just have some radiator and then SSL comp. Just doing a little bit of glue, a little bit of softening the transients. On the drum kit itself, we have Devil Lock, just hardly blended in, but still adding a whole lot of character. Then sound shifter pitch, aside from, so I wanted the drums to sound a little bit weird. So aside from the bare speed down, I pitched the whole drum kit down 4 semitones. Without it, it sounds like this. And it just feels too like upfront and bright compared to everything. So like the pitch down, the weird artifacts, what it does to the transients, the like kind of downsampling, really cool. It makes it lo-fi, but it doesn't make the drums sound that bad. Like, I feel like if I didn't know I pitch shifted it, it might just be a deep drum kit to me. So for the drums here, I'll go dive into it. I'm using EZdrummer again. This time the Into the Dark kit. So this is like a 80s post-punk inspired, new wave inspired kit. Very cool sounds to it. The only thing I changed was so a lot of the snares in this kit are super deep, and I wanted something that was a bit brighter and snappier, so I took a snare from the death metal kit and subbed that in. It's like a bit brighter and upfront. Again, I then pitched it all down, but in context of the kit, it's brighter and fit well to my ears. The last percussion thing we have is just in the last hook. It's kind of like a weird, messed up version of like a tambourine to me. I took a hi-hat vinyl sample. And I messed with it a bunch. Let's see here, put the plugin Glitch on it to kind of add some flutters. There, I half-timed the whole thing to make it pitch down. Tremolator to give it a little bit of like a velocity thing. It kind of just tucks out any of the accents that would be more 8th note. Then I EQ'd here to make it a little bit brighter, but then also cut out some high frequency weirdness. Then with all the drums, the extra snare hits really make it nice and like industrial. I've been listening a ton to the Silent Hill 2 and 3 soundtracks recently, and I feel like these drums are really reminiscent of that. Okay, so this last hook, there's more percussion elements, and then I also add some super verbed out distorted guitar and bass guitar. I like that. It's like, I don't know, I'm huge into like the shoegaze, but the more doom metal-y side of shoegaze, the more post-rock side of ambient meets rock music. And I love how this is like a almost metal guitar tone, but verbed out to the point to where it's not. I'll start with bass because it's simple. I just recorded my P-Bass into the Ampeg SVT sim from Brainworks. I opened up an EQ and I wound up not even EQing it. There's, yeah, 0.5 there. I did a low boost here, scooping a tad. Normally, like, I don't know, in some mixes I'll do a lot more bass production, but this one, was like with how natural it is and how dense it is, it was just fine like that. So I just let it be. With the guitar, I'm doing a bit more. So it started with this layer, which I'll go into pedal board cam real quick. Let's see here. So we have my pedal board. I'm trying to look at the camera and see. I'm going into the Boss HM2. So right here. And I'm doing that. A bit of reverb on the Boss RV500. And then recording it through my jazz chorus. And that's how I'm getting this tone. Oh yeah, I'm also boosting it. So it's going Plumes, HM2, and then Boss reverb. And then it sounds like this. Hold on, doing juggling of things. Yeah. That just sounds so good to me. I love that tone. Then I'm also doing some soothe, cutting out some harsh frequencies, verbing it out with Valhalla. Now, I love the sound of that, but I feel like it's a very scooped tone. So whenever I do those big HM2 tones, I'll kind of blend it with something a little more mid-rangey. I use the amp sim wise, I use the Archetype Tom Morello because one, it's got some pedals that I like that like some of the things on my pedal board are in here, so I like having that equivalent. But also it's probably my favorite JCM 800 like sim that I found. So I turned the cab off through here. I'm running the JCM 800 head, and then for my IR, I'm doing the Gitka Drums Studio Cabs Cali. It's like a oversized Mesa 4x12 sim. But I found that doing this, it gets me a more like normal rock tone. And it's very mid-heavy, so it balances, it blends in with the HM2 really well. So we got this sound. Oop, try it again. Maybe I'm going to turn off. Okay, we're going to turn off pedal board cam here to try to save that. Yeah. So without it, it just fills that like lower mid frequency really well. And then lastly, I wanted one more just like weird layer, kind of like to meet the middle ground of them. It's the same JCM 800 tone, but I ran it through on my pedal board, my Rat pedal. I love the Rat distortion, especially when you use the Rat distortion as a boost into a high gain amp. It creates this really like clippy, square wavy distortion sound. If it weren't for the verb that I put on it, it's like a super doomy tone. So that's just like a little bit of extra flavor in the tone. So with all of them, you get this. Which I think is sick because if I mix it differently, that could just be like really aggressive, heavy part of the song, but it's so washed out that it's not. It's just nice. So yeah, I love how this turned out. It's like I said, a nice exercise of like more freeform jam based things, like taking a couple elements to rein it all in, but letting the whole thing kind of just like evolve on its own. I love how this turned out. All the textures are so nice to me. Like, I don't know. Very excited to see what happens with this. If you ever hear this as a instrumental to something, you were here early. That's that's a joking, but I don't know. I want to share more things like as they're being made. I always hate like I don't hate it, but the nature of this world is like making something, being really excited about it, and then being able to share it like way later. So I like being able to like make this weekend, be excited about it, and then make a video like while I'm still excited about it. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of rambling now. I think it's time to wrap up this video. I will at the end of this video I'll put in the entirety of this with the mastering chain so you can hear it start to finish. But yeah, I mostly want to just kind of talk about this song, how it was made, what I did, what we all did, the ideas like and like thought process behind making it, and just like the weekend in general, how that all like all those things lead to making cool song. Yeah, good stuff. I If you made it to this part of the video, appreciate you watching. I hope that this is fun and informative. I want to like make more of these more frequently. I'm trying to like I don't know, keep my YouTube active, give back, show myself doing things like this. But yeah, appreciate you. Thank you. The rest of the beat will be after this. That being said, peace out.